weird noises. It's like, hey guys, what's happening? I'm sorry. It's really loud right now because I have to have it for reading. I'm sorry I had to cancel the show earlier. That was my issue, not the um, guest issue, and I've already emailed him, and I'll get him rescheduled. I have medical stuff going on, and sometimes it crops up, boom like that, and then I'm stuck. So I didn't know how long it was going to take or anything, and I didn't want to have to deal with it. So I decided to just cancel the show, and then hopefully everything settled down, and I could get back on the air and at least read for you guys tonight. Um, I got the flu shot day before yesterday, so who knows? Maybe that affected me because I've been feeling under the weather since then. I haven't had a flu shot that ever knocked me out like that. The show I did the day before yesterday, I could hardly keep my eyes open because I was just so exhausted. And then I slept, and I ended up oversleeping the next day when I was supposed to do a pre-shoot show at 9 a.m. And I just slept right through it. The alarm. So I mean, or the alarm didn't go off or something. But whatever happened. So I've been kind of under the weather the last 2 days. But I'm glad that everything settled down. I was hoping that I would settle down quickly and be able to do the show. Okay, my name is Charlotte. After saying all that, and I'm going to be your host for the next hour. I'm also the owner of the California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team based out of Sacramento, California. We are 45 strong up and down the state, which means if you think you have a paranormal problem, we can get to you. Okay, it might take us a while, but we'll get to you. So that being said, we also have psychics and mediums on staff, so that if we do have an issue getting to you, we can get a phone call out to you and help you more that way. Okay, until we can get out there. All right. That being said, if you're watching tonight from Facebook and you like what you see and hear, please be sure to hit that follow button if you haven't done so already. We like to read a book every Sunday. It's always paranormal themed. This is the last night for reading the book on the Salem witch trials. In fact, I'm at the very end, within probably about 20 pages, maybe 30. So I'm going to try and finish it off tonight. And that means Sunday we're going to be in a brand new book, and it's called Unholy Structure by Anna Maria Manello. So we'll be starting that. But that's a regular thing every Sunday at 6:30. I read. I say we because I got a big team behind me. I read from a paranormal theme book. On the nights that things like this happen, I read from the paranormal theme book, which is kind of fun. So that's what we're going to be doing today. And you guys don't have to watch me. I mean, I wouldn't want to watch me, bury my head down my tablet reading. You can go do whatever you want to do, like the normal thing says, have dinner, do whatever. And I know people that carry me around while I'm reading and they're doing laundry. I don't mind. Take me down to their basements and do laundry. Whatever works, right? So yeah, you can do that while I'm reading. And just a quick warning, I don't think it's going to be much of an issue today, but normally with this book, there are excerpts taken from the trials themselves, and so it's all written in 1600 style English, and so I have some issues with it. So it's kind of funny and comical at the same time. If I run into something like that, I will point it out. We can all laugh together. All right, if you're watching from YouTube, same thing. There's a little ghost, I think, in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen with a magnifying glass and a Sherlock Holmes hat on. That is our mascot. And if you click on that, that's only if you like what you hear and see, okay? If you click on that, that will bring up a subscribe button and subscribe to our channel. We've got more than 542 videos sitting over there. They're all different topics. Like tonight was going to be about ozone therapy. Yeah, I don't stay just on paranormal. So if you search through everything that we do, you'll find that there's a little something for everybody. So check it out. Check our YouTube site out. Okay. Okay. Anyway, so this will be our last day reading the history and haunting of Salem, the witch trials and beyond. We're at the beyond portion of the book. So let me get my ancient tablet powered up. I've got a Galaxy Note 8. That's how ancient it is. I can't even put any new software on here to keep it running. No updates. So it's done its job though for these sessions. How is everybody doing tonight? Ah, there it is. I went to Mario Land for a second there. It's going to be one of those nights. Last night, the internet, last Sunday night, I think it was, no, Saturday night, the internet went out for like 3 hours. And then last Saturday night going into Sunday. And then last night around 12:30, I'm a Mandalorian fan, so I was up watching The Mandalorian. It went out. So it was out for like an hour and a half last night. So because of all the weather we're having, we had a lot of high winds yesterday. it's iffy. I don't know what it is about Xfinity. But when it works, it's great. But when it doesn't, you know. So here we go as it comes up. So we're at the point where we're hearing ghost stories of the different locations that maybe some of some of the witchcraft stuff, charges and stuff like that happened in, and it's kind of interesting to read these because some are really cool stories and real involved stories, and some aren't. But as an investigator, I like to read all kinds of stories like this, and I like to investigate all kinds of stuff like this. I would love to go someplace like Salem or Gettysburg and check all this stuff out. All right, so Rockefeller's 231 Essex Street. Let me see where we're at. Right, we're on page 610 of 634, so that tells you where we're at. So I'm going to plow through tonight, and we're going to wrap this thing up. Okay. All right, here we go. Rockefeller's is a lovely restaurant housed in the old Daniel Lowe building. Daniel Lowe once operated a large jewelry store here, so large that he had a tunnel built between the building and the one across the street that he used as a warehouse. His jewelry business became such a huge success that he operated the original mail order catalog and offered it, the first silver witch spoon of Salem. One of the other proprietors of the Daniel Lowe building was John P. Peabody, the namesake for the Peabody House that is part of the Salem Inn conglomerate. His popular fine furnishing store was here. Today, Rockefeller's restaurant holds court. Its patio service is very popular in the summer, while the interior boasts warm wood paneling and great service. Excuse me, yes, good lord. Built in 2003, it has become a popular eatery. Obviously, a few ghosts find it tempting as well. The Blue Lady Spectre is seen here, along with a somber minister in dark clothing. Hollywood and Salem. It's got a little take one thing at the top. Jerry, Pamela, I see you there. With the rich history of Salem, is it any wonder movies and plays have been written about witches? Several prove as faithful documentaries of 1692 witch trials, while taking some dramatic license. Others are tongue-in-cheek, iconic films, and still more adaptations made the TV streaming circuit. Here's a few notables. Three Sovereigns for Sarah. Three Sovereigns for Sarah is a PBS special TV series that aired June 2005. It is a realistic depiction of the witch trials of 1692, using a fictionalized account in the opening and closing scene where Rebecca Nurse is appealing to the magistrates for the clearing of her sister's names. Despite the fact that liberties were taken with the actual scene, it is fact that many families applied for compensation after the loss of their loved ones and ruination of their homes. The cast is stellar, and the background represented in minute detail. Richard Trask, town historian and curator of the Danvers Archival Center, was approached for the film due to his acumen with regards to the witch trials. These are his words, quote, because the Danvers Archival Center houses the largest collection of imprints concerning that witch hysteria, it was not surprising when back in 1981 a polite, self-assured, curly-haired young man named Victor P. Pisano visited the archives looking for witchcraft material. Pisano explained that he was interested in the witch area and wanted, through a film, to tell the story of some of the witchcraft trials victims. My enthusiasm was not overflowing. Several film groups had visited us before, and I had usually been disappointed with their finished product. Pisano indicated an interest in Rebecca Nurse and asked if I could suggest other victims whose lesser-known stories would also have dramatic interest. I said that he might look into the story of one of my ancestors, Mary Etsy. Though she was executed as a witch, her written plea to the court, not for her own life, but to save others, is a selfless document that is dramatic in its wording even centuries later. Though I had my doubts that I would ever see Mr. Pisano again, several months later he returned with a script outline and a request that I comment on it. As I read the outline, my enthusiasm rose. He had not chosen to write principally about Mary Etsy or about her better-known sister Rebecca, but instead, he had focused on their youngest sister, Sarah Cloyce. Although she also was accused of being a witch, 47-year-old Sarah lived through her ordeal, unlike Rebecca and Mary, who were hanged. Though not much about Sarah has come down to us in history, interesting glimpses do survive. Sources reveal that she created a stir during religious services on a day following the witchcraft examination of her sister Rebecca. When village minister Samuel Parris announced the text of his sermon, which alluded to devils in Christ's church, Sarah could not bear the vicious comparison. She rose from her pew and walked out on the minister and congregation, purportedly slamming the door. As Pisano later would comment, the more I looked into it, the more Sarah's story leaped out at me. That Pisano had been doing his homework was evident from his story outline. At first, a first draft screenplay followed in early 1983. I read it one Sunday in my 1681 home, only a few hundred feet from where the witchcraft hearings had actually taken place. Richard Trask was asked to design a meeting house that would closely resemble the one in Salem in 1692, where the witch examinations took place and where Reverend Samuel Parris preached each Sunday. He did so, and the building now stands today on the Rebecca Nurse homestead, where much of the movie was filmed. Trask continued. Eminent historian Stephen Nissenbaum, a professor at the University of Massachusetts and co-author of the award-winning book Salem Possessed, joined as the other historical consultant, concentrating primarily on character development and interpretation. I was mainly responsible for historical detail and accuracy. Stephen Nissenbaum had an intellect and inquisitiveness of the highest order, yet matches it with a kind and gentle spirit. He was both a joy and inspiration, and I was honored to work closely with him. During the ensuing months, Pisano, who now served both as writer and producer of the film, met with Nissenbaum and me on numerous occasions for page-by-page examination of the script, picking up on inaccuracies of speech, objects, settings, and facts. Our comments went like this. Quote, this date in the script for Rebecca's preliminary hearing is incorrect. End quote. Quote, during scenes of Sunday attendance at the meeting house, the men and women must be separated into men's and women's sides of the building. End quote. Quote, Sarah should not drink tea in a china cup, but cider in an earthenware mug. Quote, you can't call a farmer's wife madam because her status would not allow it. You must call her good wife or goody. The result of all this painstaking work is a wonderful movie that is available on Amazon.com and in the Nurse Homestead gift shop, among other places. Here are some photos from the film, which starred Vanessa Redgrave, Kim Hunter. Okay, so here are some photos. So we're not going to see the photos, obviously. So we're just going to move on. And, whoa, what happened here? Hang on. Okay. All right. So I'm just going through the photos. As my dog woke up. Some really good fun. I wish I could share these with you, but there's no way to share them with you. Okay. Next book, Salem Witch Trials. Salem Witch Trials is a made-for-television miniseries starring Kirstie Alley. Wow, I didn't know that. Rebecca De Mornay and Shirley MacLaine. Wow. Its focus on the Putnam families is educational, as it is tough sometimes to keep the Putnam straight. This is true. It also depicts Isaac Porter's role in the separation of the Putnam fortune. Kirstie Alley and Shirley MacLaine turn in superb performances, as do the afflicted children. Bridget Bishop is wrongly portrayed as the village witch living in a hut in the woods, but it adds color to the story. You come a long way with a good idea of the basics of the witch trials and feel deeply for the victims during the jail and execution sittings. Peter Ustinov, as Chief Justice William Stoughton, oversees the strip search of Rebecca Nurse, played by Shirley MacLaine, and gives an appropriately uncomfortable performance. You can buy the DVD at Amazon. I have to look for that DVD. That sounds pretty cool. The History Channel, Salem Witch Trials. The History Channel takes on the witch trials with their usual attention to detail. It is a good overview of the 1692 hysteria, done in stills and narration. It is available on Amazon. How about this one? The Crucible, based on the play by Arthur Miller. Crucible movie has done more to sensationalize the witch trials than any movie or play on the event. It is still shown in high schools today and performed on every stage platform. If it is a student's first baptism into the details of witch trials, they come away believing Abigail Williams was a lusting teenager who has tempted John Proctor to bed. Scenes depicting the girls conjuring with the tuba in the woods and Abigail's naked dancing are pure Hollywood. The Crucible was written in 1953 as a play by American playwright Arthur Miller. It was meant as an allegory for McCarthyism, when the United States government persecuted people accused of being communists. Miller was brought up before the House of Representatives Committee on Un-American Activities in 1956 and convicted of contempt of Congress for refusing to identify others present at meetings he had attended. Enjoy the movie for its touching drama between Elizabeth Proctor, played by Joan Allen, and John Proctor, played with aplomb by Daniel Day-Lewis, and the heartbreak of Abigail Williams, played by Winona Ryder. Hocus Pocus. Oh, yeah, okay. Salem, the TV, I don't know, Hocus Pocus is like thrown right there, so I read it. I think because Hocus Pocus, there were parts of the Hocus Pocus filmed in Salem Village. Because I remember reading that farther back when we were reading the regular text of the book. Another movie, Salem, the TV series, uses the witch trials only as a broad backdrop. Oh yeah, Hocus Pocus, see? It's right here. Let's face it. See, I knew it had to do something here. Hocus Pocus grabbed the imagination of the American public and has become an icon in the movie industry. Disney Productions knocked it out of the park on July 16, 1993, with this hilarious romp through Salem. For every die-hard Halloween fanatic that ever wanted to see into a witch's hut, or fly on a broomstick, or Hoover, that's pretty funny, Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Kathy Najimy are the perfect tour guides. Many scenes were shot in Salem. It is surprising to me how often I have heard tourists in the Salem gift shops ask cashiers where they can find the Sanderson sisters' witch house in Salem. The hapless clerks always smile indulgently and say, "You do realize the witch hut was a movie set." It isn't real. Then they offer to tell them of the real locations that were used during the filming of the movie. Here's a brief tour of the locations used in the movie. Max and Danny Dennison's house, 4 Ocean Drive, is a private residence. Rope's Mansion, home of Max's love interest, Allison, 318 Essex Street. Salem's Old Town Hall, 32 Derby Street. Phillips Elementary School, which depicted Jacob Bailey High School in film, 86 Essex Street. Washington Square, where Max followed Allison from school, adjacent to Hawthorne Hotel. Pioneer Village, where Sarah lures Emily Banks away, 98 West Avenue. Old Burial Hill in Marblehead, Massachusetts, where Max meets Ernie and Jay. Other scenes were Disney film sets, including the cemetery, where they meet Billy Butcher's son, or what's left of him, and the Sanderson sisters' house. On All Hallows Eve, when the moon is round, a virgin will summon us from under the ground. We shall be back, and the lives of all the children shall be mine. Winifred Sanderson, October 31st, 1693. So let me see what we got here. It just blew up on me. Hang on a second. Okay, we were there. Okay. So I believe we're getting into the appendices of the story. So we're looking at the witch trial. We're going to go into more facts about the names of the people that were accused and the accusers. So let's take a look at that and see what we have going on here. So let me enlarge this. The accusers. It has the name and age of these people. So let's see what the deals were. Abigail Booth, 14, of Salem. Elizabeth Booth, 18, of Salem. Richard Carrier, 18, of Andover. Sarah Churchill, 25, Salem. John DeRich, 16, of Salem. Rose Foster, 13, Andover. Abigail Hobbs, no age, Topsfield. Deliverance Hobbs, no age, Topsfield. Elizabeth Hubbard, 17, Salem Village. John Indian, no age, Salem Village. Mercy Lewis, 19, Salem Village. Abigail Martin, 19, Salem Village. Mary Marshall, no age, from Andover. Elizabeth Paris, 9, Salem Village. Sarah Phelps, 12, Andover. Ann Putnam Jr., 12, Salem Village. Ann Putnam Sr., 30, Salem Village. Margaret Rule, 17, Boston. Susanna Sheldon, 18, Salem Village. Mercy Short, 17, Boston. Martha Sprague, 16, Andover. Timothy Swan, 30, Andover. Sarah Bibber, 36, doesn't say where she's from. Mary Walcott, 17, Salem Village. Mary Watkins, 20s, Milton. Abigail Williams, 12, Salem Village. And here are the witch trial victims. The key is going to be H for hanged and P for press. You know what pressing was, right? Pressing is where they were laid kind of like on a table or on a 2x4, and there were weights attached to their limbs, Oh, geez. Here we go with the internet. Okay. My internet's just horrible. Okay. What I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted and sent to Mario Land, yikes. Just see how the night just gets worse. Was that when they pressed people, they laid them on a they laid them on a surface or on a 2x4 or something, and they would hang weights off their limbs and put weights on their chests till they confessed to whatever crime they were accused of. Horrible way to go. Horrible way to go. So here we go. Bridget Bishop, 50s, hung in Salem. George Burroughs, 42, hung, and he's from Wells, Maine. Martha Carrier, 40s, from Andover. Oh, sorry. From Andover. She was hung. Giles Corey in his 70s. He was, there it is. P, right? I forget what we were talking about just now. There we go. Pressed. See, my mind is like, okay. Giles Corey, 70s. He had the weights put on him. Salem Village. Martha Corey, 70s, H. Hung. Salem. Mary Etsy, hung. She was 56. Sarah Good, 38. Hung. Elizabeth Howe, 50s, from Topsfield, hung. George Jacobs Sr., 80s, hung. Salem Village. Susanna Martin, 71, hung. Amesbury. Rebecca Nurse, 71, hung. Salem Village. Alice Parker, hung. Salem Village. Mary Parker, 55, hung. Andover. John Proctor, 60, hung. Salem Village. Ann Puteater, 70, hung. Salem. Wilmot Reed, 50s, hung. Marblehead. Margaret Scott, 77, hung. Raleigh. Samuel Wardwell, 49, hung. He's from Andover. Sarah Wiles, 65, hung. She's from Topsfield. John Willard, 20s, hung. He's from Salem Village. These are the people that died in prison. Lydia Dustin, 79, from Reading. Ann Foster, 70s, Andover. Sarah Good's baby, Salem Village. Sarah Osborne, 40s, Salem Village. Roger Toothaker, 58, Billerka. Here's a note. Over 150 people were accused during the witchcraft hysteria. I think we're done, guys. I think this is a wrap. Let's see if that's the end. I knew we were close. I just didn't know how close. Yeah. So I do believe we're done. Yep, that's it. Okay. All righty then. So that was a quick night. At least everybody can go to bed early. 20 minutes. I'd say that's pretty cool. But this book was an interesting book, and let's talk about it. Let's discuss. We're here now. Might as well discuss. And my thoughts on this are: if you look at the ages of the people that were doing the accusing, they're young. I mean, there wasn't. If you think about it, in the names I read off, there weren't a lot of people that were in their 30s that did accusing. It was all young people, and a lot of them were kids. Some of them weren't even teenagers. You know what I mean? It's just it's unbelievable, and the stuff that was going on, and it makes you wonder whether they had guilty feelings or not, right? Did they feel guilty about accusing him, especially after they saw the damage they did, killing all those, watching those people hang? So I mean, it's just the whole thing is just tragic, absolutely tragic. And then if you remember from reading the book, from what I read about the bodies, they weren't even allowed to technically be buried in the cemetery or anything like that. They were hanging the bodies and then they were just letting them drop into the river, and well, not in the river so much, but just on the ground, and maybe they were covering them up. Who knows? But the families, there's reports in that book where the families had to go in by moonlight to get some of the bodies so they could take them home to bury them. Right? And then all the stuff that was going on with the sheriff, where he would go in after these people were arrested and accused of witchcraft, and he would go in and take all their possessions, even if they had families at home. It's just craziness, absolute craziness. When you think about it, I don't put religions down. People, have their own religions and all that good stuff and their own beliefs. But when you think about these were Puritans. These were people that were really, really religious, which is how this all got going and how it all got whipped up. And here were these really, really religious people going in and taking people's possessions. Not good. Not good. I don't usually, do opinions about stuff like this, but this really bugs me. There has to be some kind of thing. When they have to cross the pearly gates, there has to be some kind of conversation there about what they did, right? There has to be some kind of thing where somebody had guilt. There had to be some guilt somewhere with this. But I mean, it's just incredible. And then the detail that Rebecca Pittman goes into in this book is incredible. I mean, she's got all those transcripts, even some of the transcripts that don't make sense that are in there that she was able to get the bits and pieces for to give this book even coverage and everything. So I mean, it's a great book. I mean, if you're out there and you haven't read it yet and you want to read it, yes, do get the book. I mean, it's available on Amazon because it's a little bit of a difficult read, but on the other hand, there's a lot of detail in there about the witch trials and about what these people went through that that died in the prison, and being in those prisons. The people that lost babies and were sick, and look at the people that were in prison that died in prison. They were what, in their 70s. So it was all the main people that passed away were all senior citizens. They were all old already, and 70 back then was old. That was like, "Okay, there I go again, Boop, Mario Land." And that was old. That was considered ancient. I mean, what 50s were considered ancient. Well, look at like Little House. Paul Ingalls died. He was in his 40s. People didn't live that long. So I mean, these people were antiquated that were sitting there in prison or in those little jails, right? So I mean, it's just crazy that stuff got away. The stuff people got away with that stuff. But I mean, it was a different time. Would they get away with it now? I don't know. If people got on some kind of rampage about stuff like that, I don't know. But I mean, I guess it was a different time, and that's just how things were done, right? So yeah, so it's a fascinating book. It's a very thick book, very involved in detail. But wow, in fact, one section I skipped because I was doing a pre-record for it last Saturday night when all the internet started to go down and everything. She got into details about the houses that they had found, the first generation houses, the 1600 houses from the 1600s. But it was all fun and it was all fine. But I mean, she got into so much detail, and I know she's detail oriented, but she got into so much detail about the architecture. You know, I used to sell siding and softened fascia and all this. So I know a little bit about architecture. My brother-in-law is a contractor too, and I also built sets, stage sets. So I know about architecture. And she really went into some detail that I really didn't think you guys were going to be all that interested in. As far as that. So I skipped like part of that section, and then continued on with the haunting part because I figured you guys would be more interested, in the ghosts and stuff in Salem. With the after effects. So if you ever get the book, you have a chance, you can read about all the architecture and stuff. But just reading this book and going through the trials and everything in there, it's incredible that happened that way. And I also have friends that are direct descendants of these women that were on trial. I have friends, fairly close friends that are descendants of these women that were on trial. So wow, it's just so mind-boggling that they got away with it. And the fact, even when you read the book, with these young kids that are 12, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, making the accusations, and then and like a couple of the judges knew that it was an act of what these kids were doing. They finally dawned on them that these kids were just doing it. Maybe the parents were prodding them, who knows? But it's just crazy, right? And imagine the poor gentleman who had no affiliation at all, hardly, with them, and he ends up getting the weights put on him, and he fought them. He never admitted to being a witch or a warlock or doing any of that. He just let them pile the weights on him. And one of the last things he said was, "I'm innocent," and then he dies. Right? What is that? So I mean, that's some pretty heavy stuff. Pretty heavy stuff. Anyway, so yeah, I knew I was really close to finishing. I wish I would have done it. In a way, I wish I would have stayed on last week to finish. What you guys got to think about is when I did the pre-record last Saturday night, going into Sunday, was that it's like anything that could happen did, and so I started. I started around 11 o'clock to do the read, and then something went wrong. Loud music from my neighbors or something was going on, and then that went on till about 2 a.m. And then I was in the second part. I was starting to read again, got really into it. About 20, 30 minutes later, the internet went down. So I had to like wait for the internet to come back up, start over. Now it's like 3:30 in the morning, get back on to start reading, and the dog decided she was going to have a fit. So the dog barked for like 30 minutes straight. So I canceled that one and then told the dog to, be quiet and came back in here to read. And then that was the copy you guys got. So by the time I was done, it was like 5:30 a.m. when I got done with the read that actually aired on Sunday. So it was a pretty rough one, that night. But the thing is, if I do a pre-record read on Streamyard, I only have 60 minutes to do it, and then if it goes beyond 60 minutes, then it becomes a YouTube video. So then we have to do it through all the YouTube channels. So that's why I have to keep it down to an hour when I do that. But you guys don't care. That's not your thing to worry about. I want to talk. Let's talk about a few things. I mean, we're here now, and let me grab some water. This is impromptu. Let me grab some water. I want to talk about the Patreon and what's going on over there. And this Saturday night, I will have the first video up live. And the only way you're going to be able to access it, it's going to be over on YouTube, but it's going to be private. But the only way that people can access this video right now, I'm on Saturday, is via the Patreon. If you're a subscriber over at Patreon, you will have full access to the video. Once that is done, I'll leave it up for a week or so at that level, maybe 2 weeks, for Patreon people. And then, because I don't have any openings for the show until April, the main show. So what I will do is I will post it at some point. I will release it in April for the rest of you to watch and listen to. But the people at the Patreon get first crack at it. So that's kind of cool. It's kind of a cool plus. And I'm working on talking with Nancy right now. Excuse me. I'm working on talking with Nancy right now about doing a special, not so much reading session, but maybe after one of her talks within the next couple of weeks to go on afterwards, because I want to start getting that going over there too. Get that going over there on the Patreon too, so that we can start getting these extra talks in for everybody over there as well. Okay. So I'm not trying to push Patreon on anybody. It's $5.50 a month, but it's going to be well worth it. It's going to be well worth it, because even though I'm going to be over there doing stuff, I might tell ghost stories over there. I think Karen Clark and I are going to do some stuff over there as well. Karen Clark and I are definitely going to be expanding over to TikTok and doing a bunch of stuff over on TikTok. So I'm really excited about that, to get that started. But the Patreon is what I'm really stoked about, because we got plans. Nancy's going to help me out on this, and we've got a lot of plans for the Patreon and keeping the Patreon folks happy and coming back. So if you guys want to join Patreon, please do that. I mean, I'm really excited to bring this stuff to you, because the more people that join up, the more I'm going to do pre-records, right? And the more I'm going to produce the pre-records. In fact, I think I have 5 pre-records coming up that I'm doing. So that's all going to go to Patreon first, and whoever's member over there is going to get first come first serve over there. So does anybody have any questions or anything about the Salem book, or anything you want to ask about paranormal or anything like that? Feel free to do it, since we're kind of flying loose tonight. Just kind of hanging out together tonight and relaxing. We're going to be going out on, we have 2 residential investigations to schedule. And so I am going to go live at one of them. So you're going to get to come with us. And I don't know if it's going to be a show thing or we're just going to go live, to have the video shot. But we are going to do some live stuff at this investigation. And you guys can see a lot of the techniques that we use. We haven't been out for a while, but it's a friend of mine's house we're going to be going to, and her son. He has problem issues at his home. So we're going to be going out there, and we are going to go live, and it'll be the first one we do since COVID, really live, as far as live goes. It'll be the first live we do since COVID-19 hit. So that's coming up here. So I have to I don't know when exactly yet, but that is coming up here. So I'm getting excited about that. All kinds of new equipment that we have, and get to try it. Some of my team members want to have a quick meeting, to go over the equipment and how to operate it. So we're going to be doing that, and so there's a lot coming up. A lot coming up. I've got a video coming out very soon. Some of you guys have given me gifts. Um, some are Christmas gifts. It got really busy. It got really busy after Christmas because the bad weather came and I had stuff going on in my yards, and then Disneyland came up and off I went on that. So I didn't have a chance to thank anybody for particular Christmas gifts and stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and shoot a video. I'm thinking tomorrow. We'll see if I have time, like early in the morning, and get something out to thank everybody. Right now, I want to make a special thank you to Mary Muter because she makes her own chocolates, and she was able to send me some chocolates. So I got a box of chocolates from her. So I'm going to be showing those off too during this thing. So, yeah, I have a couple Christmas gifts to show off, and then I have not to show off, guys. I don't mean to put it that way. I have a couple Christmas gifts to show you. One is really really cute, by the way. I'm trying to figure out how to preserve it, and then I have one gift coming that came in from Wisconsin from my good friend Pamela Schmidt, and I'm not going to tell you what it is till I open it and show you guys. So it's going to be interesting time. So I've got about 4 gifts to show you. I've got 2 Christmas gifts, and then I've got the chocolate that I'm going to show you, and then my other gift. So that will be a thing I'm going to do. I might do that live on TikTok and then film it and then take that film and then apply it elsewhere. But it's been interesting, and I want to get things back on track with the team. So I'm making plans for that. The radio show, I'm trying to make improvements on that. And one of those was getting this new desk, which I just think is terrific. And at some point, I'll have not only this desk, but I'm going to have 2 additional monitors so that I can actually see what the hell you guys are writing when you write your comments. So that'll be a nice plus for the show. And yeah. The guest tomorrow, Brooks Agnew, he's been with us before. He usually talks about the Anunnaki. Very interesting. However, he's found a way that he thinks that we can visit, that we can like explore and visit um, Middle Earth. So that's what he's going to be talking about tomorrow is how to get to Middle Earth, and how he would plan to do that to get to Middle Earth. So we're going to be talking to him about that tomorrow. So that'll be kind of fun to do, right? Yeah, so I'm trying to put some stuff together. I'm trying to put some events together over at the meetup so we can get some stuff going there. Maybe psychic development classes, maybe for the people at Patreon. If you want to do psychic development classes or something over there, we can put something together for the Patreon subscribers as well. So my chair needs some oil, obviously, making obscene noises with the chair. But yeah, so we had a short night tonight, but it's okay. It's a nice night to take off for a while, and everybody doesn't have to be here till 8:30, Pacific, because I know for some of you you're back east, and some of you are somewhere else in the world, and some of you are um, right here in California, right? So I mean, at least we'll get it. We'll get done early. I'll go till 8:15 tonight, and I call it a night. But I will, I'm intending to start, like I said, Anna Maria Manalo's book on Sunday. So we'll be reading. I will be reading that, and I haven't read it yet. You guys that have read it tell me it's spooky. That's a spooky book. Maybe it'll keep me up at night, right? Right. And I'm also reading a book about Elvis that was sent to me by an author that wants to be on the show, and I'm trying to get that done so I can get this person on. And so I got books coming up my ears. When Monica passed and all her stuff came from Oregon, I ended up with like 30 paranormal books that I haven't even gone sorted through yet. I've got them all up on my shelves, but there I go again. It's one of those days that I'm going through my shelves, and they're sitting on my so I get thrown off. I blink off and I get thrown off. So they've been sitting on my shelves, and I'm going to try and get to them because there's some really interesting reads in there. Monica had some really good books, so I have to start getting back into that and all that good stuff. And I'm hoping, and I was planning on this before COVID hit, filming the California Haunts TV show, because we had a TV show for a while, and it was based out on public access TV. We were doing 30-minute shows, 30-minute to 45-minute shows. So I'm hoping to get that going. I don't think, with all the PR and stuff on Facebook and TikTok and all this, you really don't have to do that to get it like on public access. It would be nice to get back on public access to have a show, but I don't think you need it. I think you just need, to be able to do the PR and tease the shows over to um, TikTok or to YouTube, and have people go over there on the YouTube channel and look at it. So I'm hoping to do a documentary on what we do of touring like old hotels in California in the Gold Country. I would love, that's been one of my goals for a long time is to do a really good documentary on that. So I'm kind of looking forward to that too. And I'm hopefully, if everything goes well, I'm going to move on to my plans that I had again before COVID, where I do like little mini shoots of each investigator on the team, who will tell you a little bit about themselves, and so you can, introductions to the people on my team. So I was planning on that before COVID hit, and it kind of got put in the background. And now that my studio is fully developed over on the other side, I will be able to do that. And so I'm going to probably start doing that, with the California House backdrop behind them. I have the only one I shot of that was Monica, and it turned out pretty good. I had an original one of Monica talking about herself and her background and stuff. So we're going to be doing that too. So there's a lot, that I want to do as opposed to what I can do. So it might take me a while to get to all this stuff, but I do intend to do that, and start rolling with that part too, and get my team's name back out there because we haven't really done a lot except for this. So start getting our name out there, and get known again and everything else. So it's a gradual build up, and I keep thinking, I tell you, my internet's really bad again tonight. It's gonna go. It's gonna go. So yeah, so that's part of the plan. Anybody have any questions or anything like that? You're all so quiet tonight. Okay, all right, I'll buy that. No questions are good too, But yeah, so we're gonna be doing stuff like that. I want to teach a class. If you guys are interested, I want to teach a class on protection. So if anybody's interested, raise your hand. I'd like to teach a class on protection techniques because I always talk about the thing with the light bubble, to wrap the light bubble around you for and all that. But I also know about a whole bunch of other protection techniques that I usually don't discuss or talk about. So if you're interested in that, I'd be willing to teach it for everybody to go over protection techniques. So yeah, so that would be something forthcoming that I could teach. There's other stuff I'd like to teach too. I know a couple of years ago, I was teaching ghost hunting 101 classes, about knowing your equipment and stuff, and I still want to teach some of those. But since I have all this new equipment, I have to. Hang on a second. Okay, I'm trying to read it. See, here's the deal. I can't read. This is why I'm going to buy a touch. Okay, I got you, Marisa. This is why one of the big goals too is to get a better laptop, and I also want to get like a 23-inch touchscreen, so I can read that. Like I would have that up in the corner of there enlarged, so I can read your comments. Because this is something that's hurting right now. But I really, honestly, I don't have the right contacts in anyway because I've been waiting on contacts. So I've got temporary, so I don't have the proper contacts that I'm supposed to be wearing anyway. So hopefully when I get the new ones, I'll be able to read that. Yes, okay, protection class. Yeah, we can do this. I can teach a protection class and teach you guys how to protect. Okay, well, a couple more minutes, and I'm gonna blow out of here. And yeah, it's been an interesting read, and I just getting back to the book. I adored the book. I'm gonna take a picture of you guys. Check this out. I got this old camera, my dad's, that I bought him that I use for paranormal now. There we go. Ready? I'm gonna take your picture. Here we go. Picture of me taking a picture of you. Check it out. Okay, see? Now I've got you forever here. The things we do. But yeah, so I just wanted to touch base with you guys tonight. Figured I'd stay an extra 15, 20 minutes after doing the read, and I'm getting ready to call it a night here. And I'm not, even if I call it a night, it's not like calling it a night because I have to look for guests for April. So as soon as I get off of here and upload the audio from this show, I will be trying to put together some notes and everything and pick some guests for April and see if I can start booking April. So, all right, guys, it's 8:15 and I'm going to bug out of here. And everybody have a great rest of the evening. I'll see you tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Pacific with Brooks Agnew, and we're going to be talking about Middle Earth tomorrow. Okay. All right. Catch you later. Thank you for coming. And if you like the show, share it with 5 people. If you hated the show, share it with 5 of your enemies for equal opportunity here at California Haunts Radio. And if you did like the show and you're on Facebook, please be sure to click that follow button. Same thing for YouTube. Click that, click that button to subscribe, and that would be great. And show me some love, man. Show me some thumbs up. Show me some hearts if you like the show. But yeah, so there's kind of like a reading session impromptu get together. So have yourself a great evening, and I will see you tomorrow. I'm still here. Let me cue it up. There we go. Wrong button. There you go. I will see you tomorrow.